Hey, this is Fred from North 40 Fly Shop, bringing you a fly that I don't even have a name for yet. It's a little critter I like to swing on a two-handed rod, a little Trout Spey fly. One of the most fun things about the fishing style we call Trout Spey is creating the flies that we swing. I always like to envision how the fly is going to be viewed as it moves through the water, crossing current with different tensions, different swirls. Is the profile gonna get all slimmed down in fast water? Is it still gonna have some bulk and wiggly parts? Is the vortex by the front end gonna make the back end swing? There's a lot of little nuances to making a fly look just the way you want it to. And obviously when you tie one and fish it, the fish are gonna let you know if it's doing what you want. So this little guy has a squirrel tail. It has a rabbit collar. I like using the rabbit because it's a little easier to adjust length, and the squirrel is just perfect for the sparse nature and the wiggly tail on the back. So we could call this a furry swinger. It's on a jig hook. We could call it the jiggy swinger. We could call it the swinging squirrel. Maybe we'll just call it the swinging squirrel and go with that. So let's tie it up. So I am using an Genryuu. This is a number 8. It's a 60-degree hook and it's barbless. And on that I am fastening a tungsten bead. And this is a slotted bead, 5/32 in the copper coloration. I just love a little copper on my flies, whether it's flash or bead. Then I'm just going to lay down some thread. I'm not going to add any more weight to this fly. You could stuff this with a little bit of lead if you wanted to, but that tungsten is heavy enough. So I'm just gonna wrap a little collar of thread on there just to hold it into place. And then we're gonna run our thread base on back. So the tail of this fly is our squirrel, and I like to run this tail pretty long. I've actually cut this out at exactly 2 inches on the hide, and I'm going to lay this in, and I'm going to start that hide about 3/4 of the way down or up over the shank of the hook, and then just wrap right down over it. What I'm doing is I'm compressing a little bit of extra hair, which is going to kind of keep that tail from getting fouled up. Just adds a little bit. The hide adds just enough bulk that when we lay in our body, it'll have just a little bit more shape than if it was just on a straight hook shank. And then we're going to bring in a little bit of Acrylex. This is copper, and I'm going to lay some in there under the back, or for a tail, under the tail. Get this thing to move. Then this top portion I'm going to tie back as well, and then we're going to wrap it forward. Get that to my tying point. So then this becomes our body. Notice I'm also just letting my thread hang there and carrying it forward. That helps to kind of keep that material from dividing out as you're wrapping it. And we just have to get it wrapped up about 3/4 of the way up. You could grab a hackle plier if you were smart, but I like to struggle, so I'm just going to keep it in my fingers. So we'll get that tied off. Next we're going to add a little bit of a collar of some UV ice dub, which I did not grab. There's our ice dub in the UV brown color. Something about this just is a fish sketchy color. And I'm just going to get a pretty small pinch, make a quick little dubbing loop. Just a pinch of about 1 inch. I'll lay that in there. spin it up. This is just going to create a little bump behind the tying point where we're going to finish off the fly. Alright, in front of that little bump we're going to add some red acrylics. I'm just going to take one strand of material and I'm going to fold it over my thread. Tie a little stripe on each side, and I'm going to come back and cut that off just a little bit, maybe a 1/4 inch or so past the length of the body. And I need another one. So then on the other side we're going to do the same thing. Just a little bit of red accent. Then we're going to bring in a couple little Sexy Floss black rubber legs, just to get some more wiggly parts. Lay that in, get a couple wraps to secure it. And then same on the other side. And if you bring them all forward, you can kind of measure off your length, trim them up if you need to. And then we just have to add in one more collar to finish off this fly. And for that, I'm just going to use a little rabbit zonker strip. I've cut just a little section out of a dark brown zonker. And we're going to also add just a little bit of brown UV ice dub to that. So I'm going to pick off just a little ice dub and lay it right over the top of that bunny strip. Then I'm going to make my dubbing loop. And we're going to stick our material in the loop. And this hair is actually longer than I need it, so I'm going to shorten it just a little bit before I trim it off. And then one nice thing about a rotary vise is I'm going to turn that sideways so that when I spin this up I'm not fighting with my legs. So we'll get that rabbit to spin. Then that ice dub is going to trap the rabbit a little bit, so I'm just going to come through here. You can use a bodkin, or I'm just going to use my scissor points and just kind of dig that out so that it's nice and fluffy. And then we're just going to go ahead and palmer that right in there behind the bead. The ice dub adds just a little bit of density and a little bit of flash to the rabbit. Get that tied off. And there we have our swinging squirrel. It's got some nice wiggly parts. It's got enough bulk up front here that it's going to create a little vortex and have that tail really dancing. You can always shorten that tail if you're getting short strikes, but I usually like to run it fairly long. And then, yeah, give that little guy a swing. Tight lines.